Right. So welcome to the long walk. So this is known as the long walk. If you went straight down south, well, back in the days, that was the road down to London, and it still is the ceremonial entrance. You could go down, walk 4 kilometers, and you'll end up at a big statue on Snow Hill. It's a statue of George III. Snow Hill up there, apparently that's the very spot where King Henry VIII was waiting for the news that Anne Boleyn had indeed been executed in London. There was no long walk at the time. That's been all designed by Charles II. Thank you, Joe. And it is the ceremonial entrance. So if any of you have watched the wedding, Harry and Meghan on television, you would have seen that walk very busy. If you've seen the Queen's funeral as well, they came down through here, and it goes straight down to the ceremonial entrance to Windsor Palace, Windsor Castle, because it's a proper medieval castle. So the Windsor Castle, it was a favorite of Queen Elizabeth II. She loved staying here, and she actually slept here she never really slept at Buckingham Palace since March 2020, since COVID started. She had isolated here in Windsor. And actually 4 days before lockdown, they created what they called Her Majesty's Bubble. That was 21 members of staff that had to say bye-bye to their family forever, well, for weeks at least, to isolate, to be able to serve the Queen here in Windsor, and the Duke of Edinburgh, of course, because he was still alive at the time. Thank you, Florence. And so that was through the lockdown. And you know who isolated here as well? Queen Elizabeth I, 500 years ago, when she had just recovered from smallpox, and then there was a plague in London, so she came here to isolate. And everyone that came, it was illegal to come from London to Windsor. Everyone that came, they'll be hanged. So there was no joking with the 16th century lockdowns. Luckily, we were a bit more chilled out with the COVID one. And so yeah, it's always been a royal favorite. It's the ancestral home of the royal family, and we know how much they like it because, of course, it's now the last name of this dynasty. George V, the Queen grandfather, just before the First World War, he kind of felt that having such a German last name as Saxo Coburg Gotha wasn't really a good idea because there were a lot of anti-German feeling in the country. So he renamed his family Windsor. That was a quick decision. They just went with their favorite castle. Today, if they had to change the name of the family, there would be like endless committees and discussion. At the time, that was very quick. How should we call ourselves? Windsor. That sounds very, very, very British, and that's a lovely castle. Why not? So it is a royal residence, but as far as I know, Charles never really sleeps here. He's definitely not here at the moment. Well, we'll see with the flag, but I doubt he'll be here because he doesn't want to see Harry. That's actually quite funny because Charles was meant to be in France today. So he had a good excuse not to see Harry. But now, because Macron cancelled his trip to France, he had to tell his son that he was a bit too busy. But officially, he doesn't have much royal engagement because he was meant to be in Paris and on Bordeaux. So officially, yes, that's Harry's last name, but Harry is actually called Windsor Mountbatten. So basically the Queen's children, they were called Windsor, Charles and Anne, and the two second son, Andrew and Edward, their full name is actually Windsor Mountbatten because Prince Philip wanted to be included. Anyway, let me try to pop the camera inside so you can have a better view. There we go. So this is known as the George IV Gate. George IV, he did a lot of refurbishment in the palace. Most of the is it Mountbatten Windsor? Oh, cool, fair enough. most of the palace we see today, it's actually from George IV. And this would be the side. Let me show you where the Queen's apartment used to be. I have a little image somewhere. So there we go. So I don't know if you can recognize the we are to the left of the photo. So that's not far from the royal apartments. What is the big stone building right outside the gate to the left? Oh, this one here. I'm not sure what's inside, Brenda. It's part of the complex. But you've got the mews, but they are a little bit more up in this very building here. I'm not sure what's inside. Now, at the moment, in the castle itself, we do not have any major royal living inside, because Charles doesn't spend much time here. Well, you know what? If you want to have a laugh, last time I did this tour, I tried to Google it. I knew Charles doesn't stay here, but I tried to Google it, and I Googled, does King Charles the Third spend a lot of time in? And I typed down WIN. Hold on, I'm going to have to get the umbrella. And you know how Google kind of suggests the most asked questions. Well, would you believe when you type down, does King Charles III spend a lot of time in WIN? The most asked question is actually, does King Charles III spend a lot of time in Winter Wonderland? You know, I cannot believe that more people in the world ask about Winter Wonderland. But yeah, he prefers his palace of Highgrove. He doesn't stay here at all. Why would she need an apart? Hold on, I've missed the question. Where is it? Oh. I think it was, why does she need an apartment? Well, she's not, it's massive, the full castle, and part of it is open to the public anyway. So, you don't really want to have the monarch walking along the full building when you have some visitors. So yeah, she had one part of the building, especially for her. We have a cool pub here called the Two Brewers. Exactly, for privacy. And that's quite it's a cool one inside. It's very cute. And there used to be another one called the Black Horse. It used to be right next door. The Black Horse had a terrible reputation. This street here, Park Street, it's actually the oldest, one of the oldest streets in Windsor that would have been on the way going down into London. Let me show you. There's one little memory of the pub. So the Black Horse, it was full of sex workers. Do I know how many rooms? Yes, I think it's 952, Becca, if I remember correctly, rooms. In terms of bedrooms, it's only 225, if I remember correctly. So yeah, the Black Horse pub, it had to close down because it was full of prostitutes, and there was a bit of a brothel on top. Not only ladies, there were some transvestite as well. The land used to belong to Henry Beauclerc. He was the Duke of St. Albans. He was the grandson of the first Duke of St. Albans. That's the illegitimate child of Charles II and Nell Gwyn. And he was the owner of the land, and they lost their license for the pub because it was a bit too naughty. Queen Victoria used to spend a lot of time at Windsor Castle, and she completely cleaned the streets because it was full of sex workers and brothels, and she completely decided to close all that to make it a bit cleaner, they would have said. The Duke of St. Albans, by the way, some of you might know how he got his title. I might have told you about some of my tours because I love Nell Gwyn. Nell Gwyn, she's one of the mistresses of Charles II, the Merry Monarch. And what happened is a lot of the mistresses of Charles II, they actually got titles. Nell never did, but she really wanted her son to get a title. what is the name of this town? Windsor, Susan. And apparently one day, Charles had come to visit his little toddler, a baby at the time, or a little one, and the little one is running away. And Nell shouted, "Come here, you little bastard." And the king was shocked. He was like, "How dare you? How dare you call him a bastard?" And Nell said, "Well, you've not given him any titles yet." So that's exactly what he is. So that's how he created the Dukedom of St. Albans. That's why the street is named St. Albans. There's another story, but I'm not sure that's true. Some claim that she would have held the little bastard boy over the window, and she threatened the king to drop him if he didn't give her a title, or him a title. But there's a lot of stories about Nell Gwyn. I think some of them might have been slightly exaggerated over the years, really. And the building there, this is now the entrance to the barracks. So the barracks of not the barracks, where they put the horses for the stable, sorry, for the castle. But back in the days, it used to be a little building for Nell Gwyn. So the mistress of the king, she had a little apartment here. And then she moved to a different location as well. I'll show you later on. Have I done a Cornwall tour? No. I'd love to go down there, even just to visit myself, but I've not even been. It's the hotels are so expensive in Cornwall. Yeah. Windsor was built in what? Well, Janice, it's a big patchwork of many different periods of history. But most of the William the Conqueror castle, they were started in the in the 1080s. But really, most of the castle we see today is not that old. The William the Conqueror building was full of, it was mainly wooden, and then later on in medieval time they did stone. We have an ancient well here, so that's quite cool. Is that a black? I'll show you the boxes. So we've got here three amazing post-related item. So the middle one is still in use. That's a normal letterbox, and you can see E2R, so it's not that old. Elizabeth II Regina being Latin for queen. So that's our former monarch. This is an old stamp distributor, so you could buy your stamp at the machine, which is quite cool. And the black one, well, it's actually dark blue, but I think it got a bit dirty. It's from the 1930s. This was for airmail. So that's why we kept it here as a little souvenir of the airmail. It's no longer in use. You can see it says not in use, but it's a little souvenir. And so that's George the Sixth. The fifth, sorry. It doesn't need to put the fifth because, the letterbox, they were created under the reign of Queen Victoria. So technically it was the first George under which you had those mailboxes. Anyway, let me show you the guards. So we have, when you have a monarch, you have a lot of guards. We've got 7 regiments of guards that that guard the royal palaces. Straight down there, you've got the military barracks. So the 7 regiments are the Blues and Royal and the Life Guard. So those are the Horse Guard. You've got the Scots, the Irish and the Welsh, and the Grenadier and the Coldstream. So the Grenadier and the Coldstreams are the English. So they are the one doing the changing of the guards as well as the guarding of the palace. So this is a statue of an Irish guard in full combat. And it was unveiled by Prince William because he was himself an Irish guard. The sculpture has got quite an interesting story. He used to be in the parachute regiment himself. And as he was on a holiday in Spain, so he was off duty, he did some skydiving and he took a turn, a bit of a risky one. And he had a terrible fall, and he got down and he told his colleague, I think I'm all broken. And he was indeed all broken. He took over a year to recover from his broken bones. And then when he joined the army again, he felt like he was not good enough. So he went into plan B. He quitted the army, and he went to study sculpting in Florence, in Italy. So he's done the sculpture. So amazing work. I think his name is Mark Jackson. And let me show you the floor while we're here. So we are on the Queen Elizabeth walkway. So this is a little walkway of 63 spots around Windsor. The most interesting spot to stop. It was created in 2015 when Queen Elizabeth beat the record of Queen Victoria. You know, Queen Victoria had been our longest reigning monarch, and when Queen Elizabeth II beat it that, then they've created that lovely little walk. So we'll probably see a few of those plaques today, because we'll see some of the most interesting spots around here. So Windsor, it's over 100 rooms. Oh, I don't know why I got the number 952. Well, I suppose there's probably different way of counting, because you've got some buildings that are attached to the palace that are not. It depends if you count them in the palace, really. Like, for example, you've got all the cottages that are outside. Where Kate and William live, it's called Adelaide Cottage. Let me show you a map, because it's actually quite far away. Let me show you. It's there. I don't think they're here today, because they were going away for a few days. The kids have already broken out of school for Easter, so they are away. But that's where they stay. They've moved here last summer. The when they officially when they moved to Windsor, that was to be closer to their grandmother and great grandmother. But very sadly, the day the kids went to their new school, that is the day when the Queen passed away. They've decided to stay anyway. Right, let me go into the church. There's a little hidden gem in the church. Let me check that it is indeed open. Yes, perfect. So I'm going to be quiet inside, but I'll show you. There's an amazing painting. It's a copy of a Last Supper, the Last Supper, that has nothing to do here. It was originally in St. George's Chapel, inside the castle ground. And through the Civil War, a lot of the stuff that were a little bit too Catholic, they were destroyed. So someone had rolled up the painting to bury it, to hide it away, so Cromwell troops would not destroy it. And much later on, George III found it, and he decided to donate it to this little parish church. So that's quite special. Right, so yeah, that's quite special to have it in a normal local parish church. It was meant to be in St George's Chapel, but when they found it, they didn't really have any space for it anymore. So that's quite cool. Anyway, behind the scaffolding there, that's the Castle Hotel that used to be known as the Mermaid Inn. It's not as beautiful as it would be without the scaffolding. It's St John the Baptist, Hilary, St John the Baptist. Let me show you what the hotel looks like when you have no scaffolding, with the changing of the guards. Why not? It's a very old hotel. It dates back to the 1500s. And when they got a royal warrant, they changed the name. And after the Civil War, we had a bit of an issue with coinage. We did not have any small currency. What happened is, when we had Oliver Cromwell on the throne, no, not on the throne, but in power, they didn't want to have the coins with the head of Charles I anymore, because those coins were written in Latin with the head of the king. So they got rid of those coins and they started to produce the Commonwealth coins. And then when we restored the monarchy, government failed to produce enough coins. And there were a lot of fake coming into the market. So there was money, but the small coins, they were not enough. So the boss of the hotel at the time, his name was George Pennington. He had a great idea. He started to produce the Pennington coins. So he basically produced his own coinage. Let me show you a photo. So whenever people came to the hotel, they bought a drink or a room or whatever. To give them their change, he would give them his own coins, the Pennington coins, with a mermaid, because it used to be called the Mermaid Inn. And those coins would be accepted in the hotel, as well as the local pubs or businesses or the market or anything here in Windsor. And this is not a real one. This is a deco they now have in the hotel. The last remaining Pennington penny, it's at the British Museum, but I don't think it's on display. I think it's in their collection. Yeah, innovating, exactly. Anyway, we are now at the Guildhall. So the Guildhall, that used to be where you dealt with, taxes or the different trades. And the building, the architect was, somebody started it, and then he died. So the greatest architect of the time had to take over, Christopher Wrens. And Sir Christopher Wrens, when he designed the building, originally there was no pillar here. He knew what he was doing. He created an amazing structure. There was no need for pillars in the middle. But the council, they were like, "Ooh, this is not gonna be good. We need some pillars." And Wrens was like, "No, you don't need any pillars. I know what I'm doing." The council was like, "Yeah, we need some pillars. We want to make sure it's a safe structure." And Christopher Wrens was like, "Okay, fair enough. You want some pillars? I'll give you some pillars." But if you look, he had the last laugh, because the pillars are not quite touching the ceiling. So he's done 4 pillars to make them happy, but they don't really have any structural purpose. There is actually a little metal bar inside, but that's more for the pillar to hold itself, not for the roof. So the Guildhall, thank you, Zoo. The Guildhall, we had 2 famous royal weddings here in 2005. Do you care to guess who got married here? It is now a little museum, by the way. 2005. Any famous weddings? Yes, exactly, Sila. Yes, exactly, Fran. So we first had Charles and Camilla. Not the most popular wedding of the time. Actually, the taxi drivers, they complained because the streets were closed for the royal wedding, and the taxi drivers they lost some business. Apparently, they complained to the king that they wanted compensation. And a few months later, you had Elton John, and his partner David, I think his name is. So it wasn't a wedding; it was a civil partnership. But yeah, that was actually a more popular event than the king. Anyway, let me show you. We've got, so this is the building here of the Guildhall, and this is Queen Anne. Queen Anne, she's one of my favorite monarch. She's very little known. Thank you for the tips, guys. She's the monarch that never had any living children, so that she was the last one of the Stuarts. She very famously had 17 pregnancies, 17, but no children. Well, a lot of miscarriages, a lot of babies that died. One of them lived a few years, but he did not survive. Can I zoom in? Yeah. 1 second. There we go. There she is. All right, let me zoom out. I'm just going to try to get rid of the umbrella. Bear with me 1 sec. I'm just going to pop the umbrella in the bag because it seems to have stopped. Perfect. And let me show you the Crooked House. So this building, as you might be able to see, it's not quite straight. There's a funny story behind it. Basically, when they built the Guildhall in 1687, they destroyed a lot of buildings here to have the Guildhall. What's the name again of the building? Crooked House. Crooked. Well, it used to be called the Market Crossed House, but crooked. And it's so they destroyed a lot of buildings here to build the Guildhall, and then they realized that there was no need to destroy that one because technically the Guildhall was not that big. So there was a court case between the owner and the council, and the owner won. So the council was ordered to rebuild the building. They rebuilt it very quickly, and they just gonna wait because it's a bit noisy. They used unseasoned green oak. So they built the building very quickly, and when the wood dried, the building went, yeah. So that's why it's not quite straight. It is, we had the jewelry, we had the butcher. Liz from the Isle of Wight, she's one of the voyagers. She used to work in there. And at the moment, as you can see, it is available for rent. So if you wanted to move your business into Windsor, not the cheapest place, but yeah. Anyway, let me show you Queen Charlotte. You have my creaking sound. Yeah. So that's Queen Charlotte Street. It's the shortest street in England. Let me show you. I think it's about 15 meters, and we have a little plaque to remember it. Oh yeah, if I could afford the rent. Well, I don't really want to live in Windsor because I have a lot of work in London, but it's a lovely. It would be a lovely place to live and to work. And let's go in the little streets at the back to show you the marketplace. So that's where they used to do the market back in the days. So that would be very busy with traders and animals as well. You know, people used to keep pigs and chicken and everything. And there used to be tunnels. Well, they still are, but they have been blocked up. So they'll go from the market into the kitchens of the palace to deliver the food. And allegedly, Nell Gwyn and the king used to use it as well to meet in the evening. That's a bit of an urban myth. We don't know whether that's true. Didn't Queen Anne become Princess Anne? Well, she was Princess Anne before to be Queen Anne. So that's the Prince Harry. It is a very old pub. And And it is actually named after Prince Harry. Last time I did this tour, I said something wrong. I said, oh, it could actually be named after Henry VIII, because Harry is an Henry as well. But no, I've just learned that the landlady, she renamed it in 2018. I don't know whether she's still really happy to have it named the Prince Harry. It used to be called the Three Thames. It is very old. It's nearly 500 years old. Actually, that building used to be the Guildhall before the Guildhall. How many people live in Windsor? Mary, I think it's about 30,000, just under 30,000, really. And yeah, it's quite, and it's not too far from London. I mean, some people might commute, you know. Can you show us the plaque? Which plaque? Hold on, let me step back to see the plaque. Where did you see? Oh, okay, this plaque. Oh, yeah, the Prince Harry. Right, let's go. This building here as well, 1423. It used to be a pub. They claim to have a ghost with some people have a sighting of a ghost with a Quaker's hat. And there's another plaque here. We are again on the Queen Elizabeth's Walk. Let me show you. There we go. And let's go into my favorite street. It is Church Street. It's just so cute with those bow windows and the view straight down to the castle. So that's Henry VIII's entrance down there. And talking about Henry VIII, this one here, that used to be a pub. It is now a Japanese restaurant, but that used to be a pub called the King's Head. It dates back to the time of Henry VIII. And if I show you above there, let me zoom in a bit. That's a copy of the death warrant of the King, Charles I, when we chopped his head off, 1649. You might see the date, it says 1648 there, but that's the old calendars. You might know in Georgian time, we moved to the new calendar. So technically, don't ask me to explain it, actually, it's quite complicated. But the old calendars was pretty much like the tax year in the UK, the tax year finishes 6th of April. So that's the old calendar, actually. So January 1948 at the time is now, 1648 is now 1649. Complicated. Could I go back? Go back where, Barbara? To the plaque? Sign was it is not clear, Barbara. It's not clear in real life either. It's very much damaged. I can go back, but it's not. It's not clear. I mean, it's not readable. All good. Kill. Let me zoom out. There we go. And let me show you this. This little one here. So allegedly, Nell Gwyn also lived here, probably before to have her official apartment where the stables are today. And Nell Gwyn, so we've mentioned her earlier. She was the mistress of Charles II, one of the many mistresses. She was a very witty girl. She was pretty witty. Nell, her real name is actually Eleanor. She was an orange seller in the theatre, the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. Her mum had a brothel, and she was actually quite proud of her heritage of the sex trade, really. At the time, being an actress anyway was hardly any better than being a sex worker. Yes, she was just very funny. To give you an idea, one night, the king was going to spend a night of love with another mistress. I don't know which one, but probably Louise, the French one, because she used to get a lot of crap, Louise. Anyway, do you care to guess what Nell did? What would you do if if a girl was about to have a night of pleasure with your lover? What would you do to spoil the night? Any guesses? Show up? Yeah, but he wouldn't care because he knew that they knew. Yes, exactly, Fran. She gave her laxatives. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what type of laxative they used in the 17th century, but that's exactly what she did. Or at least that's what the story says. There are many stories about Nell Gwyn. I'm not convinced that all of them are true, but yes. Anyway, let me show you the gate. So this is Henry VIII gateway. So that's through the gate there, you can see a little bit of St. George's Chapel. So that's where our beloved Queen Elizabeth II is buried. I've got an image of her grave, actually. Let me show you her grave. It is accessible when you do the visit. You know, you can not the grave, the chapel itself. I don't know whether you can actually see our grave, but the chapel is accessible. And if I go above the gate there, see the little armories. That's the armories of King Henry VIII. So he's got the lion and the Welsh dragon. Yep. And let me zoom out. There we go. And let's take a look at the flag, see if we can see. Yeah, you might not be able to see on camera, but I can see it is the Union flag. So Charles is definitely not here. But he wouldn't be here anyway. He's not coming here much. Right, let's go down. I've got a bit of work here. I'm not sure what they're doing. Is Queen Elizabeth II the queen that passed? Yeah, exactly, Debbie. So that's our former monarch. So that's the queen that died in September. Yeah. And let's go down to take a look at Queen Victoria's statue. The Queen Victoria, she was known as the widow of Windsor. She was married to her cousin Albert. And you know, great love story. It was an arranged wedding, but they were cousins. And when our beloved Albert passed away, let me show you my face because I don't like to film the groups. Hey, when our beloved Albert passed away, she never fully recovered. She isolated at Windsor for a while. She stayed alone. She never really showed up in London again, and she even tried to speak to the dead. She was known to do a lot of spiritism and seance to try to speak to our beloved Albert. The Victorians, they believed it might be possible to communicate with the dead because, you know, they had just invented the telephone. So if you could pick up the phone to speak to somebody in Newcastle, why not speak to the dead, you know? So yeah, they kind of burned all the diaries and everything about it, but apparently she with what's his name, John Brown, they used to communicate or try to communicate with Albert. Anyway, let's go down to towards the shopping center. But the statue, so that was erected to celebrate our Golden Jubilee. So the Jubilees, it's the anniversary of them on the throne. So you've got silver, it's 25 years on the throne. Then you've got ruby, 40 years, golden, 50 years, diamond, 60, sapphire, 65, and platinum, of course, 70. So that's what the Queen had, our former monarch, had last June. So if the Queen had lived another 5 years, we would have had to create a new jubilee because we don't have any. Yeah, exactly, 1887. So when they celebrated the golden jubilee of Queen Victoria, they didn't expect her to live another 10 years, and 10 years later to celebrate her. What is it? 10 years later, diamond. They didn't know what to do. So they created a canopy. Let me show you the canopy. So where is it? There we go. So I'm just posting the canopy in the chat. But the canopy was so ugly that they removed it. So that was for the jubilee after that. So the tower you can see now, that's the curfew tower. The curfew, not as the COVID curfews, that's the curfew in terms of, there was a friendly reminder in the evening to tell people to extinguish their candles to avoid having a fire at night. So that's what they did at the curfew tower. And this is the Royal Shopping Centre was created for the Jubilee as well, for the what did we say? It was Diamond Jubilee. So I guess you can guess 1897. Let's go and take a look. Yeah, Katie, it is a shopping center as well as a train station. So I'll show you the train station. We've got two train stations in Windsor. So when you come to Windsor, make sure you remember which station you come from, because I used to do tours here. I used to do little in person, taking a group, then dropping them at the castle, and then they would come back on their own. And it didn't matter how many times I told them to go to Windsor on Eton, not to Windsor Central, because they're quite close to one another. Very often they went to the wrong station and they called the office anyway, saying they were lost. So you've got two stations that are quite close to one another. So this is Windsor Central, and I'll show you the train platform, because there's actually a beautiful replica of a locomotive. Oh, you took the train from London to Windsor? Nice. Yeah, if you came from Paddington, you might have ended up here. It's not the station I use. I use the other one because it goes to Waterloo. If you do come to London, I highly recommend to come for a day in Windsor and visit the castle. It's a proper medieval castle. It's quite amazing. My favorite thing in the castle, let me show you. I think I've got a photo actually. It is the Queen Mary dollhouse. It is a dollhouse, D-O-L-L, not dull as boring. A dollhouse that's everything is miniature. It belonged to Queen Mary, so that's the Queen grandmother. Like, you can grab a book, it's a real book. You can grab a bottle of champagne. There's going to be champagne inside. It's amazing. Well, I say you can grab. No, you cannot grab. There's a glass, so you cannot actually touch it. But it's very impressive. Oh, you came here in 2018. Nice. Right, so we are now in the station. So it's a small one. You can see there's only two platforms, and we have here the lovely. It's a replica of the locomotive that took Queen Victoria here for I think that was for the Golden Jubilee as well. Oh, you took the bus, Charlotte. Oh, cool. And this is, of course, the Royal Crest with the motto Dieu est mon droit. Dieu est mon droit, honni soit qui mal y pense. That's the motto of the Knight of the Garter. So in the middle, you might see honni soit qui mal y pense. And it's a bit broken, but this is not a horse. This is a unicorn. The unicorn represents Scotland. Anyway, let's go back towards the main street. So Windsor is also the spot where they do the Garter ceremony. So that's St. George's Day. So that's 23rd of April. The Knight of the Garter. It's the highest chivalric order. It's basically, back in the days, to be a medieval king was a very dangerous business. People might kind of plot against you, try to kill you, or just go to war. So they needed a group of fierce knights that would protect them whatever happened. So that's Edward III. He created the Knight of the Garter. So that's 24 knights and ladies. At the time they were ladies, then they cancelled the ladies, and then Queen Elizabeth II brought back the ladies of the Garter. And look, we were talking about post boxes earlier. This is one of the very rare one. It's called the Penfold letterbox. Those are usually from the 1860s to 1878. The green ones, they're really rare. There's a few fake, but that's an original one. We can see it's a bit old. So we can see the VR, so that's Victoria Regina. And you know what? When they created, so they had to discontinue it in the 1870s because they were too expensive to produce. But when they discontinued that model, we went back to the normal one. But when they created the first one, they had a lot of designers, and they had a contest with many different designs of the hexagonal green one. And they chose that hexagonal green one. They were like, yeah, that's the best design. And then when they start to produce it, they realized they had forgotten the little gap. So there was a beautiful box, but there was no gap to put the letters in. So they had to obviously add the little gap in the design. Mind the gap, yeah, exactly. Anyway, so we were talking about the Night of the Garter. That was created by Edward III. He was dancing with the Countess of Salisbury when she famously lost her garter on the dance floor. And he picked it up, he put it around his thigh, and he famously said, "Honi soit qui mal y pense." Shame on who thinks evil of it, because he did not want anyone to mock the chess. And that's after that he used it as a symbol of the Knight of the Garter. Edward III is the king that started the 100-Year War, which was not really 100 years, and because he had a claim to the French throne. Well, really, Edward III should have been the French king. But obviously, that didn't go down very well with the French, so they started a war that lasted a little while. It wasn't every day for 100 years, but it was on and off, and yeah. So let's go down towards the riverside. Thanks, Emma. So this is one of the oldest part of the castle, the Curfew Tower. They have some dungeons underneath that used to be used for parties as well. And we'll walk down towards the Théâtre Royal. So the theatres, that was of course always a fun business. But the first theatre here in Windsor was only open for about 6 weeks in the summer, because on the other side of the river, you've got Eton. So that's a school for boys. They call it a public school, but it's not really public. It's very confusing, but it's not actually public. You have to pay a lot of money. And it's a very prestigious school. So they did not want a theatre open every day, because they did not want the boys to be perverted, to come to the theatre and be distracted. They wanted them to study. When they had the train station, they did not want a train coming into Windsor. Again, because they did not want the boys to have access to London. They did not want them to be able to go to London for an evening and again be distracted. Thanks, Emma. That was not a question. Thanks. So yeah, the first theatre was only for a few weeks. It was on the high street. Then they closed it. It became a church actually, and they built a new one right down here, straight in the middle. That's the Théâtre Royal. And the first, one of the first play, the King and Queen came, George III and Queen Charlotte, and to say thank you for the kings and queen to come, they printed the bill on silk. So silk was, of course, very valuable. And apparently, once the king and queen left, everyone ran to the royal box to try to steal to see if they had left the bill behind, the silk bill. And they've been 3 Théâtre Royal on the same spot, because it has been destroyed a couple of times. There was a horrible accident, by the way. 1835, there was a lady, 63 years old, Sarah Yu. She was, at the top on the balcony when she tripped. She fell over the balcony straight into the pit. She smashed herself on the benches. She broke her back, and she died straight away. Would you believe they cleared off the body, and a few minutes later they started the play like if nothing had happened? That was they were a bit rough in the 19th century. And they claim it is haunted as well. It's not the ghost of Sarah. There was a horrible fire in I think it's 1906 or 1908, and sadly some people died. At least a little girl called Charlotte, and they rebuilt it in 1910. And some claim that the ghost of Charlotte is still there. Who knows? Who knows? I thank you for the follow. Right, let's go and see the River Thames. So we've got a lot of swans. Hopefully they'll be there to say hello. You might have heard that all the swans in the country belong to the monarch. Well, yeah, there's actually an old law that states that all the swans in British water, if unmarked, because very often they have a little ring on their legs, if unmarked, they can be claimed by the monarch. So that's because back in the days, at the time of Henry VIII, we used to eat the swans. The it was a bit of a delicacy. So today, that's not going to happen. I mean, if Charles was really hungry, if he was starving, he could technically come and pick up a swan, if unmarked, but that's unlikely. Yep, let's go. We do have a ceremony, though, every year. It's called swan upping. It's basically to put the rings on the new swans and to count them. And there's a few workshops for the kids about wildlife and stuff. I have to be careful because last time I was here talking to the swans, I got shot on by a pigeon because there's a lot of them on the tree above me. Anyway, hello. I got no food for you. Can you show us your feet? Let's see if you are marked. Yes, you are. Let me show you. Ah, no, he's not. No, he's unmarked. So technically we could hit him. Well, Charles could. We can't. Usually they have a little rings. Why are you not marked, my friend? How did you escape? Are you young? I did not bring you any food, I'm afraid. Because last time I did this tour, you guys were hiding away. Well, I do have nuts, but that's, I don't know if that's good for you. Do you eat nuts? No, I've got nuts for the squirrels, but yeah, I'm not going to give it to you because I don't know if you can. I don't want to be held responsible for the death of a swan. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the bridge. We call it the Eton Bridge, but I think it's actually called the Windsor Town Bridge, but everyone calls it the Eton Bridge because it goes down to Eton. So Eton, famous school. I think it's 20 of our prime minister. Well, when I used to do tours here years ago, well, not that long ago, before COVID, it was 19, but we've had so many prime ministers since. I think it's 20 or 21 now, because Boris went to Eton. Richie didn't. I think he went to Westminster College. But yeah, very famous school. Of course, Prince William and Prince Harry went to Eton as well. In his biography, Prince Harry talks about Eton quite a lot. It seems like a very strict school, but apparently they were smoking a lot of weed anyway in the building. Yeah, exactly. So William the Conqueror. So I guess I didn't really explain that quite well. William the Conqueror, when he took over London, he built 9 little fortresses about a day walk around of London to be able to check for any invader. So he built one here, so he'll be able to check for any invaders coming along the river. And he also stayed here a bit himself. He used to import tons of wine coming down the River Thames because, he was French after all, so they need their wine. And And we're very lucky. Windsor has not been bombed through the Blitz because Adolf Hitler, he wanted to. Well, if he had managed to take over England, he wanted to set up his headquarters here in Windsor. So that's why it's not been bombed. So we are very lucky. So that's the bridge here, little plaque. You used to have to pay to cross the bridge. If you were just a normal pedestrian, it was half a penny. So that's quite affordable. But if you wanted to come with a cadaver, a dead body, well, I'm afraid that was a whopping 6 shilling. 6 shillings. So you better die on the right side of the bridge. Oh, my signal has dropped a little. Not sure why. 6 shilling, Mark. 6 shilling. Right. Let me show you the view. So that's the Thames River. You can see those little islands in the middle of the river. They are called Eight. It's pronounced Eight, but it's actually spelled Eyot. E-Y-O-T. Eyot. Most of them are private. I went to one of them. There's one of them that belongs to Eton College. There's one little building. It's actually a rowing club. And it's a friend of mine's sister living on the rowing club. She's taking care of the Eight. So I had the privilege to visit one of them. Well, the castle was not bombed. I'm not too sure if there was any bombs elsewhere, but they definitely did not bomb the castle because Hitler wanted it. Right. Let me show you the other side. And that's going to be the end of the tour. So if you have any questions for me, let me know. And if we went down that way, they'll go towards Eton. I might try to do a little tour of Eton side one day. I'm just a bit worried because I don't want you guys to ask me too many questions about the school system in this country because I still don't understand it. I mean, you've got public school that are not public. You've got grammar school. It's too complicated. But yeah, I might try to do a little Eton one. Kill. Let me show you my face again. So if you guys wanted to see the back streets of Windsor, I'm doing another tour here in a couple of hours about Annie Chapman. So it's going to be less impressive visually. We'll go into the residential area, but I'll tell you the life of the second Jack the Ripper victim because she lived here as well. So if you've seen my Annie Chapman tour last time, it's going to be pretty much the same story, but here this time. So I'll show you the streets that she would have frequented. Oops, sorry. Oops. There's something weird with the chat this day. When I try to hold on, let me flip it on so you don't have a zoom in on my face. I think I've seen a question about the painting. It's I think it's called The Last Supper, and the painter was Francis de Clane. He was the official painter of James I, and he was. Have you heard of the tapestry, the Mortlake tapestries? We did a tour in Mortlake once. He was responsible for them as well. Yes, Pauline. Windsor Castle had a massive fire in 92. Massive. And Windsor Castle, it's like a jewelry box, What's inside, it's like very valuable. And the Queen, bless her, because she did not want the British taxpayer to have to pay for the refurbishment. It was going to cost millions. And so she decided to open Buckingham Palace for 10 weeks through the summer when she's usually in Balmoral in Scotland. So that's why we can visit Buckingham Palace. That was originally to, exactly. Annus Horribilis, she called it, because 92, that's when Fergie and Andrew were divorcing. they're still together, and they probably will remarry one day. Diana and Charles, that wasn't going well. The castle burned down, so she did a famous speech where she called it an annus horribilis, a horrible year in Latin. Am I wearing crown earrings? No, it's not a crown. It's steampunk, like some kind of industrial wheel. Thank you, Elaine. Cool. Let me see if I've missed any questions. Thank you, Tish, for the link. Cool. Thank you guys for your tips as well. Every little helps. With Hego, all the money we get is a proportion of your tips. So thank you very much. If you want to see a bit more of me, you might wanna follow my channel. There's a little follow button somewhere. And if you want to see a bit more of Windsor, hopefully I'll see some of you in about 2 hours. I'm gonna go and hide in the pub for the time being. I've been very naughty. There's a Wetherspoons pub. Don't tell them. You've got the free refill on coffee. And because I was just going for an hour and I'm gonna go back to hide in the pub, I took the cup with me. It's free refill, so I don't wanna have to pay for another one when I get back. So I've just borrowed the cup, so I need to go back now. And anyway, hopefully I'll see some of you. I think it's 7:30, and we'll talk about Annie Chapman. If not, on Saturday I'm doing a Monopoly tour. So we'll explore a new area of London and we'll look at property prices. Right. Have a good evening, a good morning, whatever time it is for you. And keep going. We have some fantastic guides all over the platform. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Have a good one.